A major blow to hundreds of families in Michigan who thought they'd never have to sit in a courtroom again with the people who killed their loved one. But in April, the Michigan Supreme Court ruled people convicted of murder at the ages of 19 or 20, serving life in prison without parole, must now be resentenced. Tonight, in part 2 of our special report, Victims' Voices, Ann Emmerich speaks with a Clinton County family, trying to understand why their sister's killers deserve a second chance.
A beautiful headstone to honor the 20 years of love Kassandra Sandborn brought to her family. She was brutally murdered 26 years ago. Her sister Kendra thinks about her every day.
She was the most kind and fun-loving person. She never met a person that she didn't love.
That innocence and trust ultimately led to Casey's death. She had a disability in which her brain never fully developed.
She was very proud to have a job because with some of her challenges growing up, she was a little bit slower than other kids her age, and a lot of us thought maybe she would never have a job.
That job at Meyer in Ionia allowed her to put money in the bank and have a car, a source of pride that attracted predators.
They put together this plan to befriend her, and the 16-year-old pretended to be her boyfriend, which, she was just over the moon. She'd never had a boyfriend before.
Casey never mentioned her 16-year-old so-called boyfriend and his older friends to her family, this group of young men who took advantage of Casey's innocent nature.
So they convinced her to eventually drain her bank account, and some of that was by threatening sexual assault if she didn't comply with what they were asking.
She did what they asked, even applied for a loan that got turned down. But Casey drew the line when they demanded her car.
She had worked hard to pay for that car, and she would not give up her car for them. So they came up with this plan to have her take them out on a joyride out on this back road, where they then proceeded to beat and stab her and stomp on her head and then steal her car.
They got caught after bragging to friends who turned them in. Casey's heartbroken family sat through 3 murder trials. The 16, 18, and 19-year-old killers, each convicted by a jury and sentenced to life behind bars.
And while that didn't bring our sister back, knowing that they wouldn't be out there harming others, it was a sense of peace, and it was a sense of certainty that this part of our life was done.
But now, old wounds reopened again. Nearly 3 years ago, Casey's family watched the 16-year-old convicted in her murder get resentenced from life to 36 to 60 years in prison. He'll be eligible for parole in 9 years. Now, this brother and sister will again have to face the 2 other men who killed their sister. Men the state's highest court believe deserve a second look at their sentences. Their reasoning? Adolescent brains are not fully developed at that age.
And my sister's brain was not fully developed either. My sister doesn't get a second chance.
We don't get a second chance to see her.
Because what is happening now, it seems like, is the scales of justice have tilted too far one-sided towards the defendant.
Clinton County Prosecutor Tony Spagnolo says he'll do everything he can to make sure the killers are not treated like victims.
These 2 defendants absolutely decided what they wanted to do to Kassandra. This isn't a happenstance murder. They decided to brutally murder Kassandra.
How would it make you feel to have them back on the streets?
It's sickening to think that they would have the opportunity to come back into society and live any sort of life of freedom, potentially harm others.
They all lived in the town right next to ours, a town we frequent often. The thought that I would be potentially in that town and come face to face with them, yeah, it's mind-blowing.
Mind-blowing to this family still grieving a tremendous loss.
I have this picture that sits in a prominent space in my house, so every single day I see her smiling at me.
What do you think she would think of all that has happened?
Unfortunately, she was so forgiving. I don't know.
A gentle, trusting soul gone too soon. Her spirit providing her family perpetual comfort. Casey is one of hundreds of victims prosecutors will be giving a voice over the next several months, all in an effort to keep convicted killers behind bars for life. We'll keep following these stories and bring you updates.
This is your first